China fears India as it has sent its fifth generation J-20 fighter jet to India-China border. Now India increases its military budget to $130 billion and India is selling its military things to other nations. India's Air Chief R.K. Bhadouri said that Indian Air Force is fully prepared to face any situation along the line of actual control with China amid the standoff at the border recently. They had brought their J-20 fighter jet to the areas close to the eastern Ladakh, adding the moment Indian Rafales were brought in and their J-20s were there. Bhadouri asserted that the talks were going on between Indian and the Chinese commanders, while stating that lots of attention were given to it. He also said, if de-escalation and disengagement start, it will be good. If it doesn't happen or some new situation happens, we are fully prepared for it. India knows the actions and capabilities, India's air chief said, and China's capabilities. Bhadouri said Rafale fighter jets had caused worries in Chinese camp. The Indian Air Force had deployed Rafale fighter jets in the eastern Ladakh after it was procured from the France. In November, the Indian Air Force had received the second batch of 3 Rafales at Jamnagar Air Force Base of India in Gujarat. The Indian Air Force currently has 8 Rafale fighter jets in service. India has signed an agreement with France for 36 Rafale fighter jets worth Rs 59,000 crore. The country had received the first batch of 5 Rafale jets in July last year of 2020. Which was inducted in September of 2020 at the Ambala Air Force Base in India in 17th of Golden Arrow Squadron. India's Air Chief had said earlier that the government is concentrating on the procurements of 83 light combat aircraft Tejas Mark 1A and 114 multi-role fighter jets and upgraded versions of LCA. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh also said that India plans to spend $130 billion on defense modernization in the next 7 years to 8 years, with a focus on the domestic manufacturing of big and complex platforms. Rajnath Singh also said since 2014, the Indian government has brought in many reforms in the defense sector to create a conducive ecosystem for exports, foreign direct investment and offset discharges. To receive the twin goals of the self-reliance and exports, the Government of India has set a target to achieve a turnover of 175,000 crore in the field of defense manufacturing, including the export of 35,000 crore in aerospace and defense goods and services by 2024, said Rajnath Singh. Like many of the India's friendly countries, India also faces threats and challenges emanating from the multiple fronts. The Indian government has taken many steps to strengthen the country's security apparatus recently. India on Thursday expressed its readiness to share military hardware, including the missiles and electronic warfare systems, with countries in the Indian Ocean region, where China has been increasingly raising its profile in recent years. Speaking at the opening session of the day-long Indian Ocean Defense Minister Conclave in Bangalore of India, on silence of the Aero India Show 2021. Rajnath Singh, the Indian Defense Minister, said India is ready to supply various types of missile systems, light combat aircraft, helicopters, multi-purpose light transport aircraft, warships and patrol vessels, artillery gun systems, tanks, radar, military vehicles, electronic warfare systems, and other weapon systems to the Indian Ocean region countries. But still, India is lacking behind every country for making for its own military and air forces. It has to put to the test while India can accept and satisfy other countries' need in the defense sector. So what do you think of China's fears of India's Rafale and deploying its 5th generation J-20 fighter jets near India-China border, and India increasing its $130 billion, which is 3 times of its current military budget? China deploys more troops and tanks near Ladakh. India to use Tibet in its talks with China, and Rafale jets officially inducted into the Indian Air Force. China are blaming each other for the new standoff in the line of actual control, or the LAC, in Ladakh. China is increasing its troops tremendously when the Indian army have succeeded in capturing the Renchen La and Rezang La on August 29-30th of 2020. From here, India can keep an eye on the Chinese military. China has deployed two motorized troops with 3 battalions in front of the Choshol and one in the west side of the Pangong to the Daulat Beg Aldi. Also, the 4 divisions of the battalion tanks positioned around the Spanger Gap. There are varied playing grounds for the battle, so the tanks from both the sides will play a bigger role in this area. The latest round of tensions comes amid the ongoing new standoff between India and China in the Ladakh region. Indian officials and the military general have already said that the situation is very serious in the LAC, or the China and India border. After all, among the first, India physically occupied a few hilltops for the first time in the Pangong Tso region recently. India is also in the discussions on bringing Tibetan freedom or related to the China as a trump card against China in its talks. As India is getting more support from the Tibetan settled peoples, India may use this as a leverage or an anchor against China on gaining grounds in the LAC or the China-India border. India was among the first countries to recognize communist rule in China. Through 1954, the Sino-Indian Trade Agreement, India also acknowledged the Chinese control of Tibet. However, the Chinese invasion of India in 1962 reneged on this accord. In 2003, then Prime Minister of India, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the governing another BJP-led NDA government, signed a joint declaration with his counterpart, Wang Jiaobei, in Beijing. This declaration recognized that the Tibet Autonomous Region is part of the territory of People's Republic of China. The first 5 Rafale fighter jets, dubbed as the Game Changer, was formally inducted into the Indian Air Force on Thursday at a glittering ceremony in Ambala Air Force Base of India. The Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, his French counterpart Florence Parly, the Chief of Defense Staff of India General Bipin Rawat, and the Air Chief Marshal of India RKS Badauri were among the dignitaries who attended the ceremony. The developer of the Player Unknown Battleground, or the PUBG game, has cut ties with Chinese firm Tencent, or the Techie, to accommodate India's ban on the game for the national security reasons. They are also in talks with the Indian government to reinstate the app back to the normal. So what do you think of China is deploying more troops in the India-China border, and India to use the Tibetan freedom talks with China, and inducting the Rafale jets, which is a game changer according to the Indian media and the officials?